Nigeria. I am your host, Daniel Atai. Every 10th December of the year is known as International Human Rights Day. It's a day set aside to commemorate the adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Welcome to Spectacle. I am your host, Daniel Atai. And with me in the studio to introduce this topic to you and analyze on them, by my left is Comrade Itiokura Nsu. So the name is a bit very difficult to pronounce. Permit me to my own erroneous pronunciation. And by my right is Kennedy Angbu. Both of them are renowned analysts, political activists, and social commentators. After this short break, we'll be back to deal with the business of the day. Stay tuned.
The issue here we have to begin to look at is that at the time of independence, I don't know if there was a trajectory to where we are going to.
How could it be that credible, free, and fair under manual conduct of election?
That is where our problem lies, and that is why people are now saying that, advising that we should move, that the world has gone into digital. We should move from the manual to the digital.
We cannot keep doing same thing and expecting a different result.
The only way you create jobs from your ministry is that you have to encourage local content.
If you look at the profile of Sally Mama,
there is a caveat in this leave given to him. He should seek medical help if he's fine.
Welcome to Spectacle on Television Nigeria.
The issue here we
You're welcome back. Like I was saying before, we are commemorating with the international body on the day titled Human Rights Day. And the day is aimed at promoting and raising awareness of the two covenants of human rights. And one of the covenants is International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. And secondly, we have the International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights. And these are the areas my analysts and myself will be looking into from our own end here on Television Nigeria. Please keep a watch with us. I will start from you. You heard the introduction, Mr. Kennedy. Now, one of these things is the Charter on Human Rights is the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. What does it mean by economic, social, and cultural rights for human rights to participate?
Well, thank you for inviting me and for this opportunity. Basically, the Charter talks about the right not to alienate anyone from the social, and cultural rights of everyone. Everyone is within the Charter. You are empowered, and you have the right to do so. And so you are supposed to participate without being encumbered. And so it's a great day because part of what this entails is to make sure that everybody can participate within the space that is allowed. And so when you inhibit or you put some form of prejudice against certain people or certain culture against their rights for socio-economic development and culture, then it becomes a threat to the Charter. So I think that part of marking the day is to allow everybody and every space to participate within this day.
Okay, I'll come back to you, Kennedy, on the political rights issue of this particular charter. Let me ask Mr. Nsu Itiokara. I'm still learning how to pronounce the name. The other charter, which is the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, what does it mean before we begin to checkmate our continent and our nation, Nigeria, whether we are up to do in terms of human rights?
Well, thank you very much. We're talking about civil and political rights here. It is very simple, as contained in the UN Charter in 1948 or so. It simply means every one of us in the society have our rights to live the way we're supposed to live within the confines of the laws of our societies. Now, if we talk about political rights, freedom, the right to belong to any political party, the right to belong to any political association, and all of that. Now, when those rights, when people begin to encroach on those rights, government, powerful people in the society, then definitely it becomes human rights abuse or violations. For instance, you have right to belong to any political association. I can live, and that is why in
whether opposition or ruling party,
any political platform at all, any registered political party, any political group, by association, by affiliation, depending on your personal decisions. So nobody has the right to encroach on those rights,
All right. Would you have anything to say in the social, economic, and cultural rights before I throw the issue of political rights to him fundamentally?
Yes, of course, in any society you find yourself, you have to respect the way of life of those people, the society you find yourself in. Now, cultural rights, the right to live your life based on the norms you inherited from your parents or the early...
Or your tradition.
And all that stuff. And then there are traditional cultures, the way people worship. And then you can say because people are believe in traditional deities and all that, and then you feel it's wrong, and then you want to encroach on their right. I can decide to be an idol worshipper. You can decide to be whatever you want to do. That's your right, and it's very, very fundamental.
Okay.
Now I'm talking about, you said socio-economic rights. Well, yes, government should social amenities. Government, it's our right as taxpayers to enjoy certain amenities because it's a fundamental right. Potable water, and then infrastructure, generally good roads, hospitals, and all that.
They are part of our social, social rights.
Yes, exactly. So, but in this part of the world now, there's the high-level infrastructure deficit, and then the government is not living up to task. And then that is an encroachment on the fundamental human rights of Nigerians, particularly as we find ourselves in this part of the world. The government fails to provide electricity, the government fails to provide potable water for us, the health facilities are not there, and then I think it's a total abuse of human rights.
That's from the government.
From the government, for instance. And then powerful people in the society trying to encroach on your rights, forcing you to belong to certain associations out of your will, and then trying to see how they can collect certain resources away from you, land, waterways, and wherever you have mentioned them. These are human rights abuses.
Okay.
These are human rights abuses. And then you have a right of nature, the right to protect our ecosystems. Not many people know that even animals have rights in the society. Of course.
Even animals have rights.
Animals have rights.
All right.
The waters we use, the oceans, and all of those natural habitats have rights.
Right.
Most people don't know these things. So
Yeah.
there's every need for that awareness to be created.
Yeah, they are all in the UN Charter.
Exactly.
All right. Mr. Angbo, there is this issue that is politically in the country, let me say in Africa generally. How could you rate our respect to human rights and socio-economic rights?
Well, I think that Africa as a continent has not fared well when you talk about the rights of people, the rights of people living with disabilities, the rights of people living, the rights of journalists and activists, social change agents. What we have seen across the African continent over the last, for the better part of our existence, is abuse of all rights. And that's why the United Nations came up with some of those treaties, charters, and all that, so that as a signatory to those rights, you could be held accountable. That is why you have Transparency International, you have Amnesty International coming in and say, in areas like this, you have faltered, you have not lived up to expectations. So I think that if we narrow it down to Nigeria, currently there are cases, there are over 40 cases of abuses of people that are either incarcerated, detained, or their rights taken from them, which runs contrary to the right and the Charter of the United Nations concerning that. So I think that on a day like this, it's important for us to call the government to account, governments at all levels, local, state, and federal. I mean, most times when we talk about issues like this, we're fixated with the issue of the the federal government. So we talk about the issue of Showore, we talk about the issue of the guy from Port Harcourt, Abira.
Yes.
But then we don't talk about the cases of people like the guy from Cross River State, then the guy from
Taraba State. About the journalist?
I know he's a lawyer. The Cross River State is a lawyer, a DPC person. Okay. And then the Taraba guy also, who is an undergraduate, but wrote a piece against the governor that talked about some of the social rights that my colleague
deficit of social
enumerated, and the vice chancellor picked on him. So you see, and even at the local government level, I mean, currently, I know of local government where some legislators were denied their rights.
Okay.
They are being old. They were asked to stop sitting, and you see this flagrant abuse of rights across the board. And so we see that in Edo State also, where 14 members of the House of Assembly.
Were there any state where legislators will be asked not to sit?
Yeah, I mean, let me talk about Otukpo local government, for example.
In Benue State?
In Benue State. And so you had 11 members who were barred from sitting. And you see, that's an infringement on our democracy.
Right.
Not just the legislative right now, also on our democracy, because at the local government level, the legislators are responsible for formulating laws.
By who? Who stopped them? That's what I'm asking.
The current chairman went to court, got a court injunction. And I think also the courts have not done well in this aspect, because the courts are supposed to look at the treaties, they're supposed to look at the issue of
the legislative arm
and everything. And then, not that someone comes to you, you give an injunction, perpetual injunction for barring these people from contesting or for holding sitting. So what you have done effectively is that you are saying that the entire local government do not have representatives to legislate laws for them.
So it's not only at the federal level
that
the executive abuse power.
I mentioned Edo State, where 14 lawmakers' seats are going to be declared vacant. So you see this abuse all over the place, and I do not think that politically this augurs well for us. It doesn't speak well of us about democracy. We keep saying that democracy is nascent, but every nascent democracy needs to grow, and you nurture it. But what we have done is that we have killed it, so we don't even allow it to grow. So even at the local government, where these young politicians are supposed to learn the ropes of law-making, legislation, and all that, but we stop them from doing this. Even in Benue State, I think during the last administration, that's in 2015, the minority leader of the Benue State Assembly, well, I mean, we know what happened to him.
Oh, yes.
He was suspended.
Yeah.
And you see this flagrant abuse.
For
Even at the
almost 6
National
months.
Assembly, you see that happen.
Yeah.
We saw
So in your rating.
The rep member from Kano State, Honorable Jibril Abdumumni. I mean, he was suspended for almost 2 years. That is not. I know that every house of assembly or state or federal, they have their ethics and codes of rules, but then you do not impinge on that right by denying certain constituencies the right to have proper representation.
All right. Thank you for that, your take. And you were itching behind me as he was talking. You have anything to say apart from figuratively? I mean, persons in public offices, like you mentioned, we have other rights like the common men on the street. The common men, how are they going to get their own rights? How are they going to have the executives, the legislative, the judiciary will respect the rights of the common people of the country?
Thank you very much. If you talk about human rights and then rights abuses in this part of the world, particularly in Africa, the laws are there to protect you and I in every society. There is no shortage of laws in Africa that are cognizant of the fact that human rights must be respected. But to me, it's an attitudinal thing. There are laws out there. You see, like you said, flagrant disabuse of powers by legislative bodies, powerful people in the society, cabinet officials, and all that. In this part of the world, a governor wakes up, for instance, and decides to do and then undo. Now, most times we talk about constitutional reforms, law reforms. We even have the Law Reform Commission. But what does the Law Reform Commission do? It doesn't have the power. There's always that conflict of interest amongst those power blocks. Power blocks. So the common men in the society have the right to be protected. The laws that covers the biggest people in the society cover them too. But for instance, if you talk about abuse of the rights of the commonest people in the society, every now and then you see these things happen in the streets. The police, for instance, is one institution that is culpable of that. Every now and then you see police harassing people. If there's just go on the internet now, you see that a policeman has shot someone somewhere. Argument of just 15 naira or thereabouts. So it's not an insult on that institution. But a matter of fact, recently with the National Bureau of Statistics release, it ranked the police as the most corrupt institution in the country, and you and I have fallen victim of that, whether you like it or not. So that it's a very key institution. It's a notable institution for human rights abuse. Talk about the military.
But how do we say that without the police? Would this country with law would it be lawless?
No, of course. There would be a total breakdown of law and order without the police. But what that means is that once you see a police officer, you're supposed to be very comfortable. You should feel more protected. But in this part of the world, once you see the uniformed people, you begin to become even more scared. So there's every need for training and retraining. But like I said, the most important and critical thing there is the attitudinal thing I talked about. Because the laws have been trained, they know the laws. They know how to protect people. They know they always know when they are infringing on people's rights. But it's an attitudinal thing.
All right.
Because of the corrupt nature of the system, as we're living in a contraption, nothing is working. The laws are there.
Okay, I will come back to you maybe after we go on a short break. Both of you will discuss about the areas which the country Nigeria, which we've just spoken about the continent entirely, and the rating you have for the continent, the ratings you have for the country itself, Nigeria, and how these administration of President Buhari so far fared with respect to human rights and social, economic right and political right. Please stay tuned with us. We'll be back shortly.
The issue here we have to begin to look at is that at the time of independence, I don't know if there was a trajectory to where we are going to.
But how could it be that credible, free and fair under manual conduct of election?
That is where our problem lies, and that is why people are now saying that, advising that we should move, that the world has gone into digital. We should move from the manual to the digital.
We cannot keep doing same thing and expecting a different result.
The only way you create jobs from your ministry is that you have to encourage local
But
content.
he had
If you look at the profile of Sally Mama,
There is a caveat in this leave given to him. He should seek medical help if he's fine.
Welcome to Spectacle on Television Nigeria. Welcome back. This is still Spectacle on Television Nigerian, and we'll open the line, the two lines for you to call in if you have anything to say. If you are watching us live from any part of the country and you wish to contribute to our topic of discussion this afternoon is about Human Rights Day, commemoration of the Human Rights Day, and the numbers to call are already displayed on your screen. And if you can see it very well, I would like to reframe them now. 081-3701-5949 and 070-5432-7616. If you are calling from outside Nigeria, remember to put the country code, which is +234. When we're going on break, Ken, I said we're going to general overview of the states in the country that are violating human rights. And I want you to look into the case of Kaduna State, where a journalist was locked up. I think Luka Benin of the Guardian newspaper, Vanguard is being released. And in Jalingo, which is Taraba, there's one Agba Jalingo in Taraba State that was also locked up for, writing against the governor of the state, Darius Ishaku. And then we have the one from Cross River, I've forgotten his name, who is still in detention under Ben Ayade. And then we'll look at the president also of the nation, who, with reference to the issue of Sowore and so on. So you two get ready, because these are the things I want us to look into the state. What would you say the administration of President Buhari and the governors that we have, would you say that they are doing well in terms of respect to human rights?
So when you look at the history of freedom of speech, freedom of expression, it dates back to the ancient Greek society, where leaders were seen to be divine from God, and they were hardly opposed to. And so as society started evolving, they need to question the authority otherwise of the leaders or the kings became important. And that was because human beings are not animals. Human beings have inalienable rights of expressing their innate ideas, ideals, and project same. And so from that growing evolution, people started clamoring for the need to express themselves. And so it became encaptured in the UN Charter of 1948, that people have the right to express themselves within any medium as they so choose. Now, the problem is that that right does not confer on you an infinite freedom. There is what you call the right of others as well. So while you're...
That brought my remembrance to one leader. I think they said, Indian men of Uganda said, you have your right on speech, but the right after speech you may not that you cannot
determine. And so essentially the rights of expression is to allow people also have an opinion as to how they are governed, to either have dissent, because no two individuals can always agree on every issue. Okay. We're not robots. And so people are allowed to express their dissent. And in democracy, we say majority will have their way, but the minority would have their say.
You said something. You said two people cannot agree over. But
not always.
What about in a case where we have a constitution guiding everything? Don't you think that two people have to agree to the constitution?
You see, the issue of agreement boils down to issue of ideologies. For you to agree and settle on a particular issue, you need to have a compromise. That doesn't mean that there isn't a difference in terms of how you view things, but then because you need to move forward and advance, you would give here and there. And so I think that if you look at the issue of human rights violation in Nigeria right now, we have really gone below the acceptable standard, which is allow people to have their views. But you see, what the problem is now is that people think that a lot of people take advantage of that freedom of expression and freedom of speech. However, within the same constraint, it also empowers people that when you feel maligned, you should go to court, seek redress. So I do not think that as a leader, what we should do is to deny people their rights. It is not within our purview to deny people of their rights. So if I am infringed upon, let's say if my brother here maligns me and I feel aggrieved, I should resort to the court. Right. Even if I'm powerful, it's the court that will determine what the actions or vengeance upon that man would be, not me. So I think that taking people as a government, taking people to custody, arresting them, infringing on their rights, I think it's not part of that charter we have agreed to abide by.
Emphatically, in one statement, how would you rate Nigeria in terms of respect to human rights?
I think because we are practicing democracy, it's far better than what we were used to when we had democracy.
So at what percentage?
Nobody can give you a percentage. So I would say that we are trying, but we can do better than where we are right now.
All right, thank you. Mr. Nsu, so you heard him. We are wrapping up. I want you also to rate the country in terms of respect to human rights. And the persons I've mentioned and the states that you think they are violating the rights of their people.
Yes, of course, we're away from military rule. Democracy has been in...
try and be audible so that audience can get you.
Democracy has been in place for some time now.
Yes.
But is there anything too different from what the military guys were doing comparatively?
Yes, so give an example.
Because if you want on a scale, low, very, very low in Nigeria, a court, which is the last resort of the common man, gives an order, passes judgment. And then the people in the executive arm of government, because they are very powerful, they disregard those court orders. And then they expect society.
That's a contempt of court.
Yeah, of course. And then you have security operatives entering inside the court to disrupt the court sitting in trying to arrest somebody, an activist.
You're talking about Soul, right?
Of course. And there was a case some time back in one of the states in the southwest. A governor-elect entered the city. A court was sitting. A governor-elect entered the court with his thugs and then disrupted sitting. The High Court judge had to run away for his dear life. Confiscated documents in the court.
Which state was that?
Ekiti.
Okay, you mean
if you want me to mention names,
you have to, because
of course,
we are looking at a broader.
You understand? So these things have been there with us. In Nigeria here, in Abuja here, the current minister for FCT, Mohammed, what was his name again? Sorry. Bello. Mohammed Bello. Issa Bello. Now, everybody has...
He did what?
There's no restriction for human movement. Anytime, except there is curfew. Now, you see a young lady, your wife can decide to feel free in the evening to go sit out before returning. So it doesn't mean it's every lady you sit out there with a bumper shot, with a skirt that goes to the nightclub or to the joint and returns. That's a prostitute. Now you go to a club where people are flexing, enjoying themselves, and then you bring a police to come and pack girls on, and then the police use a policeman, and then the security.
Well, we have a law
to rape, the highest form of human abuse. The highest thing you can do to a woman, to rape a woman.
That is your opinion and your assertion, not that of TV. I am
privileged to know certain things in the society to a level that a cameraman who went there to film one of the televisions, a cameraman who went there, a police officer struck his camera with his baton for filming them. So the abuses have been there. You can continue talking about from morning till now, particularly in this Nigeria's capital. Abuja, go to the streets out there now, you see them. Harassing people, the so-called environmental people, they will come, snatch whatever you have. They're not taking them to their offices. On a very particular day, I saw them sharing their loot somewhere. Say, yes.
With your very eyes?
With my very eyes, I saw them sharing their loot somewhere around Bega Junction, around in the opposite side of PDP Secretariat. These are flagrant abuse of human rights.
So what would you advise now?
Like I said, it's an attitudinal thing.
Okay.
We should change our attitude because there are no shortage of laws protecting you and I. But it's an attitudinal thing. The president knows his limit. In a federation such as ours, we know the powers of the president. Okay. And then that is one of the disadvantages of a system such as ours. The federalism confers too much powers on one person.
Okay.
And then
so he's exercising his power.
So
it's not his fault.
It is either I said there are limits to which one can exercise their powers as leaders.
Okay.
So if you begin to over-exercise your powers, there are constitutional provisions to this. Yeah. Now, if you begin to over-exercise your powers, then it automatically becomes human rights abuses.
Right.
If you fail to provide us with infrastructure, if you fail to provide us with social security, human security, nature, and all of that, then the government is abusing us. The same way powerful people abuse us. And then even the small people abuse people too. There is a case of an electrician stabbing a boss somewhere in Lagos yesterday. You give people opportunities to come in. And then these are the smaller people who cry louder than any other person. So other people, it's an attitudinal thing that has nothing to do with our laws.
All right. Thank you
so we
very
need to
much.
change our attitude.
You said it's an attitudinal thing. That means we can change our attitude from the presidency to the councillors to the common ones to the electorate on the street. And Kennedy Ambo said we are faring a bit fair than before because we are practicing democracy. You said we are faring very low because there are so many flagrant, disobedience to the rule of law,
we can do better.
And we could do better. This is where Spectacle will stop today. Your favorite topic and program will still be on tomorrow. I want to remind you that it's open to sponsorship as well as, invitations. So you can invite us to come and cover your show, give you special interview about your scorecard, your visions, your blueprints, and your prospect as a politician, as a public figure. We can handle that for you. And you can also check us on our social media platforms on Facebook, Television Nigerian, on Twitter at TV Nigerian, Instagram, and all the social media platforms. So let's hook up there. I've been your host, Daniel Atai. Thanks for watching. Welcome to Spectacle on Television Nigeria. I am your host, Daniel Atai.